Welcome to the channel, it's Kay, and in today's swatch sesh, I bring you part 3 of the nail polish comparison limited series, I guess you can call it, because I don't know how long this series is gonna last. Nobody in the world knows how long this series is gonna last. If you're new to my nail polish comparison videos, the way that I do it is I first swatch one polish first so that you get the full experience of that one polish. And then I post its comparable shade so that you get the full experience of that comparable polish. And then I do a nice side by side so that you can compare and see the differences and similarities between the two. Now, in today's video, I'm actually going to do things a little bit differently. So I will be back at the end of the video with some of my thoughts. But for now, let's get into the battle. Playlist by ILMP. The first category is neons, and we start off with Playlist, who was launched in ILMP's Poolside collection. It is an electric neon lemon lime green polish in a simple creme base. You might have noticed that it's also a tad bit streaky. However, I have had this polish for years, so the formula may be a bit dehydrated at this point, which is fair. However, that second coat definitely did a great job with filling in those streaks, making everything look nice and even, ultimately leading to this very vibrant end result. But let's check out its comparable shade. Electric Daisy by Cirque Colors. Electric Daisy was released in Cirque's Vice 2016 collection, and it is a neon highlighter yellow polish in a creme base. The first coat coverage with Electric Daisy is good, but it's also not a one coater, and I truly don't think it will be regardless of your nail length, because it just needs that additional layer to look perfected and even, which you can see that second coat achieved very easily, leading to this final look. And I have to say, I agree with Cirque, it is pretty electrifying. You'll notice that it looks glossy because the polish is still wet, but once it's dry, it actually turns into a satiny finish. So let's see these two side by side. With Electric Daisy on the left and Playlist on the right, you can see the very subtle difference in color. Even though one is described as a highlighter yellow and the other as a neon lemon lime green, they look pretty similar, but we can still see the yellow coming through a bit more strongly in Electric Daisy, while ILMP leans just a wee bit more green. Both of them are eye-searing though, and will absolutely take the edge off if neon lime green is what you're needing. Now here's the comparison under black light. They're practically the same. If you wanted to buy one of these based off of the UV glow factor, then here is what you'd get. Really not much of a difference, if any. Take a Pic by Penelope Luz. The second round of comparisons starts with Take a Pic, which is described by Penelope Luz as a multi-chrome polish in a blue base. I'm actually not gonna try to build this up to full coverage, but I am aiming for at least 2 coats. Here it looks more like a light blue jelly base with pink shimmer. The shift is barely noticeable over a bare nail, but in very specific indirect lighting, you will catch those pink particles shifting into a very light green to yellow type of color. Moving on to showing it over black and white, you'll notice that over white, the predominant color is that blue from the base with that sprinkling of pink elements throughout, and then over black, you lose all the blue and are really only left with the intense scattering of those pink multi-chrome particles that might look a bit coppery, reddish, or even orange at some angles. Now let's see who's twinning with this one. The Artist by M&N Indie Polish. The artist was a part of the Nevermore collection and is described as a blue jelly nail polish filled with red to gold to green foil-like shimmer. These two polishes, they're extremely similar, but the most obvious difference is going to be revealed towards the end. So far, the artist also looks like a blue jelly base filled with pink shimmer, at least over this bare nail. Both formulas are very smooth and appear to be just as equally packed with those color shifting elements. I mean, we are talking down to the particle size. They really look like dupes, but hold your judgment until the end. Moving on to showing it over black and white, you'll notice that the blue base continues to dominate over white, casting that pink shimmer throughout, and then over black we get a strong reddish color that may lean more orange at certain angles. Now moving on to the side-by-side comparisons, and this shot still doesn't even show the most obvious difference, but you do get more hints of pink tones from those multi-chrome elements in the artist, whereas in Take a Pic, they appear more like an orchid tone. Now here's where I think the most obvious differences are shown. On the wand and over black, we can see more clearly the difference in the tones of color and what each of their strengths are. Eminent continues to show off a more fiery red to orange glow, and Take a Pic appears more purple pinkish in color. While extremely similar, they're not dupes, but definitely comparable. Good Fortune by ILMP. Good Fortune is part of ILMP's New Year's Eve collection, and starting from the ground up, what we have here appears to be a green jelly base that is nicely fed with a green shimmer particle in a healthy size. It's actually quite easy to see the individual shimmer particles as I swatch, since they are pretty big in size. In my experience, it is gonna need at least 2 coats for a nice full coverage, so do prepare for that. With this one, you can expect that top of the line formula that ILMP so graciously and consistently offers to us nail polish lovers. And zooming in here, you can take a better look at those particles before we move on to the comparable shade. Perfectly Pine by Arctic Fox. If Arctic Fox nail polish is news to you, then make sure to check out my Arctic Fox nail polish haul video that I will link in the description below. With Perfectly Pine, we get a clear base as opposed to that green jelly base that we had in Good Fortune. This one is composed of emerald green glitters in a very tiny size, and because of the combination of glitter in a clear base, we will need to layer on some coats with this one. I would say prepare for at least 3 coats and also a glitter grabber before you top it off with a top coat, because it does dry down with a bit of a gritty finish. However, the formula feels great. Even though it's nicely packed with these elements, it's really smooth and the glitters do spread out evenly across the nail, which is really helpful. Now, this shot is after applying top coat to smooth everything across the nail plate, and now that we've let Perfectly Pine shine, let's see the side by side. With ILMP to the left and Arctic Fox to the right, there are some differences in the tone of that emerald green. As you can see, ILMP looks a lot more deep, and those shimmer elements catch that light, creating a bright green glow, which gives it another layer of interest. And Perfectly Pine, the tiny glitters are reflecting the light right back at us, but the overall color is uniform throughout the nail. No matter which way you shift your nail, that emerald green tone in Perfectly Pine's glitter will not shift colors, but it will reflect it. The Diabolical Mojo Jojo by Mooncat. You guessed it, this is part of Mooncat's collaboration with the Powerpuff Girls, one of my all-time favorite collabs. What we have here is a concoction of all the fun things. We get color shifting purple to pink shimmer, a combination of green, pink, and black flakies, but also 3 different types of holographic glitters. Oof, you guys, do you think they forgot something? Anyways, all of these ingredients are floating in a purple jelly base that can be layered or not, depending on how much nail line you'd like to see. This is one that can at least appear to be fully opaque in 3 coats, only because of the amount of ingredients that we have here, which really assist in covering up that nail line. Now, if you're wondering what nail polish could possibly be comparable to this one, then let me introduce Neon Botany by Patti Lopez. Neon Botany was released in this year's Polish Pickups March event, and the brand describes it as a purple shimmer polish with red to black multi-chrome flakies, but also iridescent flakies that shift from green to blues. Now, comparing the first coat with Mooncat, I'd say that they both provide the same level of coverage, and you'll actually notice as I move along in the swatches here that the opacity level I reach in 3 coats with both of these polishes is practically the same. Neon Botany's formula is not as thick as Mooncat's. I'd say it's noticeably smoother, but we have to keep in mind that there are less components in this polish than there are in the Diabolical Mojo Jojo. Now, after 3 coats, my nail line here is a little hard to see. Head on, it basically disappears. You can get a slight glimpse of it when I angle my thumb downwards. With Mooncat on the left and Patti Lopez on the right, you can quickly notice the differences in that purple hue. The Diabolical Mojo Jojo leans more warm toned and Neon Botany is more cool toned. Also, notice the black flaky elements. Mooncat appears to have less of them in a larger size, while Patti Lopez seems to have more of them in a smaller size. And remember that both of these have a total of 3 coats, and here you can see what I had mentioned earlier, that the opacity level is basically the same with these 3 coats. TLDL, those are the nail polishes that battled it out in the ring. That is my YouTube channel. So let's talk a little bit about these, starting with Cirque Colors and ILMP, Cirque's Electric Daisy, and ILMP's Playlist, which are very, very similar, right? However, we can't forget that one of them is described as a highlighter yellow and the other is described as a neon lime green polish, which is the ILMP. So there is just a bit of a subtle difference that is noticeable to the eye. Cirque Colors is just a little bit brighter. Would I recommend having these 2 if you own the other? No. I do personally prefer Cirque Colors Electric Daisy, just because it's a little bit brighter, but again, that's just my opinion and my preference of color. And then we have the Patti Lopez and the Mooncat, which is another pair that is very similar, but there are obvious differences here too. You know, Mooncat gives us a little bit more with that holographic element, and also their black flaky particles are just a little bit bigger, whereas if these 2 were twins, I'd say Patti Lopez is kind of like the more grounded, more simpler twin, you know, and then the Mooncat is the more funky, wild version, I guess. I do have to say that I prefer Mooncat over the Patti Lopez just because we're just getting a little bit more, and I'm obviously gonna want it all. ILMP's Good Fortune and Arctic Fox Perfectly Pine, which I think are the 2 polishes that are least alike in this video, at least, or in this comparison video. And I mean, in many aspects, right? With Arctic Fox, I needed 3 coats because Arctic Fox is in that clear base, whereas ILMP, I just needed 2 coats because they have the shimmer elements that are bigger, but also the base is a green jelly base, so it really does help a lot with coverage. When it comes to owning these 2, I would say that would be fair, just because they really are two different polishes. So if you liked both of these and want to get both of these, I would say go for it because, yeah, the differences are pretty obvious. And now we get to the tricksters, take a pick, and the artist. And I call them tricksters because I was so confused in the editing and making of this video because sometimes I didn't know which polish I was looking at. So I would have to wait for a glimpse of the handle so that I knew which polish I was swatching in that part of the video. They look so much alike, and it really wasn't until I took a picture of the wands together side by side that I realized what the differences were, because even when I was swatching them, I couldn't really tell them apart. You know, you're putting on one polish, you're taking it off, you're putting the other one on, and they're just so alike that I really couldn't tell until I made this video. So yeah, two very similar looking polishes in the bottle, but there's definitely some differences going on here. So that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed today's battle. I hope you have a great day, and I hope I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching so much. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.